Everybody, Cosmic Goku here for you guys. It's another video on my channel. It's been a really long done a video, the whole thing, and some so I had to deal with them. We gotta understand that, but well, in further ado, listen to this what if. Now, we'll be seeing in the same round, which was hosted the Tournament of Power, all the gods of destruction except for Beerus himself. Although we'll be talking about Goku and Vegeta, how strong they have become over the years, how their power has surpassed any other mortals they have seen in years, even centuries. They've known about the legendary Yamoshi himself, but at least he was humble, but they don't know about the Saiyans themselves, since they believe they're too cocky and confident, even dangerous or skeptical about them. While Whis is in this god's meeting, he is kind of surprised that his siblings and even the gods of destruction are acting this much to the two Saiyans. Whis has personally trained both Goku and Vegeta, so he knows how they are, though he doubts that the others really understand it. Eventually, Bemo suggests the idea of basically killing both of them. Of course, this is actually a surprise, but eventually someone appears, being the Grand Minister, the Grand Priest. Of course, Belmont and the rest of the gods are shocked as they bow to the Grand Priest, but he raises his hand and tells them there's no need to bow, saying that he agrees with their ideals, but he tells them that it's not best to basically kill Goku and Vegeta, since Zeno will most likely get upset and erase their universes and basically start everything from scratch. Eventually, he decides to object to this idea, believing that it may be another way for them to get rid of the two mortals, while now basically causing too much havoc. Of course, Valos has to step up and eventually decides to bring the idea of the Divine Time Chamber. Of course, the Grand Prix is actually surprised since they haven't been utilizing this chamber for centuries, so they're surprised that Valos decided to bring it up. Valos explains that it will most likely make sense since only them angels can utilize the Divine Time Chamber, though only the strongest of them all can utilize it as she glances to Whis. Whis looking away slightly, not wanting to get the attention of his father nor his sister in this moment. Of course, the Grand Priest has to agree with Valos' idea, believing that the Divine Time Chamber will most likely suffice for what they want. He eventually tells Whis to do as he must, saying that this is an order from the Father of the Angels. Of course, Whis reluctantly has to agree to his father's proposal, even though deep down he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to betray his students, and especially Lord Beerus. This is something that will basically haunt him forever in his life, though he sighs and eventually agrees to his father's ordeal. While back at Beerus' plan, Goku and Vegeta will be sparring with each other, while Beerus will be watching the two of them, seeing their progress ever since they battled Broly. They have grown stronger and stronger, though the Saiyan is back on Vampa, since Goku and Vegeta had to return back there, since they believe that he needs some time alone with his friends. While Goku and Vegeta continue to spar and increase their powers, and eventually Whis will arrive after God's meeting. Beerus decided to approach Whis and eventually ask him how the meeting went. Whis explains that it went decently, with a reluctant tone of hesitation. Of course, Beerus is able to pick up on that, but decides to ignore it at least a little bit. Maybe it's something that occurred. Probably something that important, right? Beerus thinks to himself. Eventually, Whis has to approach Goku and Vegeta. Eventually, I had to suggest him to train inside the Divine Time Chamber. Of course, Beerus picks up on that and asks Whis if he's really sure, since he believes that Saiyans still need some time to adapt to their own powers, believing that the Divine Time Chamber will be too much for both of them. But of course, Goku decides to interact with Lord Beerus, saying that they're more than prepared. They have been training for years to get stronger, and if the Divine Time Chamber can help it growing stronger even faster, then they will take it. And Vegeta is nice to also agree, saying that he will also join as well, not wanting to be left behind by Kakarot. Goku smiles and tells him that he will not leave his best friend behind, as Vegeta discussed. But also, Goku is kind of confused as he senses the hesitation of Whis' movements. He's actually not seen Whis hesitate in, what is it, like years since he's known him? So he's kind of confused on why Whis hesitating to basically open the Divine Time Chamber. He's confused, but Bears also picks up on that, having a slight thought, and wonders what exactly even happened in the God's meeting. Could have been something between Goku and Vegeta? He doesn't know, but he has the slight gut feeling that it may be between those two mortals. What did God say about them? Did the angels say about something like them? Beerus is confused, but he decides not to bother with it much, believing that it may be just a fluke or he's just messing with himself. But of course, we are telling Goku and Vegeta to look out for themselves and make sure that nothing happens. Whis remains calm, but inside he's very nervous and kind of hesitant to do everything. But he does it as he is told, knowing that he must conceal his emotions. Eventually, Goku smiles and says that they're ready. Vegeta agrees and also feels that they're going incredibly strong. Eventually, both of them have went inside the time with Goku saying that it's incredible. He can feel the immense pressure that the time was giving on their bodies. It will be indeed a very good training match. Whis also, so while they're inside the Divine Time Chamber, explains that time inside the Divine Chamber passes way differently than even the Time Chamber or the Pyramid of Power. Explain that a couple of years for them, we most likely a couple of minutes for them outside. Of course, this surprises Goku and Vegeta, but they know Whis. They're eventually locked inside the Divine Time Chamber without their own realization. But they both get repaired. While inside the Time Chamber kind of looks like the mixture of Whis' staff and, of course, the Time Chamber back on Earth. Which basically, my Time Chamber basically makes the person's atmosphere to be the same as they have in their memories. And this is basically the most thing that Goku and Vegeta remember throughout their whole lives, the Time Chamber itself. So my channel basically reflects that so they can get the most benefits they can get from their training. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta would begin to spar with each other. First at base, but eventually it's time to kick it off into Super Saiyan. Eventually firing massive blasts at each other. Goku firing a Kamehameha and Vegeta firing a final flash. As both of them collide, instantly shaking the entire place, but just for a second. Eventually, Goku and Vegeta had to step it up a little bit and power up to Super Saiyan Blue as both of them rush at each other, instantly beginning to fight once again, with their speed being so fast that not even a naked eye can even proceed. Both of them continue to clash and seems to be even with each other. Goku explained that Vegeta is indeed catch on really quickly, and Vegeta doesn't that indeed he has. Ever since their battle with Gas, he's been trained to surpass his limits, and he knows that to Kakarot as well. Of course, Goku smiles at Vegeta and tells him that indeed both of them have grown a lot, but it's time for them to go even further. Eventually, both of them roar as both of them unleash even more of their power. Eventually, power to their Ultra forms, Goku in Ultra Instinct and Vegeta in Ultra Ego. Both of them at their max powers as they continue to clash with each other. Trading punches and kicks as both of them are able to block each other. While Goku is able to dodge Vegeta's attacks, Vegeta is able to tank all Goku's attacks and increase his power even further. Trying to attack Goku once again, but even with his increased strength, Goku's speed is still far outclassing him. Though Vegeta's strength is more than powerful to even match or even outmatch Goku's own. But still, Goku's speed is a very big factor for Goku to even stay in the battle for so long. They continue to battle and eventually push each other more and more. With Goku seeing Vegeta's movements as they became more erratic, since Vegeta was getting desperate to actually beat Goku at least once. But Goku is still able to dodge Vegeta's blows, with Vegeta getting irritated and eventually trying to push Ultra Ego further with more power. But Goku is still able to dodge. Eventually, after a couple of months of battle, they're able to basically exhaust themselves, panting as they realize they exhausted all of their energy. Eventually, they call out for Whis to let them out of the time chamber, but instant there's no reply. Of course, Vegeta thinks, wonder what is happening, but eventually thinks that if Whis has betrayed them. Of course, he is very surprised and even shocked that Whis would do something to them. They have been nothing but friendly with Whis for so long. Does Beerus even know about Whis' betrayal? Of course, Goku just believes that maybe it's just Whis trying to basically teach them a lesson and basically is he help them growing stronger. Of course, Vegeta is reluctant but decides to believe Goku, and eventually they both continue to spar once again. Back into Super Saiyan Blue as they continue to clash with each other, continue on their own sparring while keeping a positive set in their minds, knowing that Whis will most likely let them out when they want to, or when he feels like it, right? They believe so. But eventually, after a couple of years have passed, they realize that Whis has not let them out, and they are indeed trapped. Of course, Goku is in shock and wonders why would Whis do that? He knows Whis, he's his mentor and master, so why would he do it? Of course, Vegeta is irritated and wonders if something happened outside. Maybe possibly the God's meeting? Beerus was not there, so he doesn't know as well. So they ponder what did happen and got some meeting to basically make Whis the sort of thing to let them out. Vegeta is irritated and thinks that Whis is betraying them. But more importantly, maybe the other gods manipulated Whis to betray them. Vegeta is irritated and wants nothing but revenge. Goku also agrees, saying that he agrees with Vegeta, and they will most likely have to go even stronger so they can be let out of the time chamber. But they know one thing: they must get revenge on the gods and make sure to get their answers really quickly. Eventually, both sides continue to spar, wanting to increase their strength as much as possible. While back outside, Whis will be watching them as they continue to train. Though deep in his mind, he apologized to both of them, saying that he wanted to do that, but it's just his father's orders. If he does not do that, he must lose everything. Not only his powers, but most likely Lord Beerus will be stripped out of his title as God of Destruction, and Universe 7 will be destroyed as well. Whis sighs, but eventually Beerus looks at Whis and asks him what happened. Eventually, Whis will have told Beerus about everything what happened in God's meeting, shocking Beerus. He showed that even his brother would do something like this. He expected from the rest of God's Destruction, yes, but Champa? Even Belmont? That is something that he did not expect. He expected that the other gods would be selfish, but his own brother and the rival he knew for so long? Man. Even the angels themselves? How can he be so selfish? He struggled and irritated, but he sighs, knowing that he cannot do anything, at least for now. He sighs and tells Whis that he'll be taken out for this couple of months, but he tells Whis to prepare him the Paranoid power, saying that he wants to train for the next couple of years. But also he wants Whis in the next month to basically tell the Z-Fighters of what happened to Goku and Vegeta. Whis sort of things has to agree. While back on Earth, Bone preparing the party for Trunks' birthday, with the Z-Fighters decide to help her as they organize everything. Of course, both Gohan and Piccolo would have been training ever since the Tournament of Power have ended. And of course, most of the other stuff that happened as well, with Gohan growing immensely stronger and powerful by the time. Also, if you guys are wondering, no, the events of Dragon Ball superheroes did not occur, at least not in this timeline yet. So that means that Gohan did not achieve Beast, nor did Piccolo achieve the Orange form yet. But both of them have grown immensely powerful and strong with each other. Gohan is actually able to stack up Super Saiyan 2 with his ultimate form, being able to utilize the boost of power and rage of Super Saiyan 2 into his own ultimate form, making him even stronger than he ever was before. Because also grown stronger, but also trying to learn about the ancient history of the Namekian god Zalama. Known as an ancient Namekian who was able to basically surpass the limitations of the mortals and achieve godhood by himself, being known as the first mortal to transcend to godhood and became an unofficial god. But even Piccolo has seen some gaps in history, with Zalama not being set as a protector or a destroyer. It's something that varies with Piccolo's mind, but he still researches on Zalama's history, wanting to learn more about the ancients Namekian god. But also, he believes that with this information, he most likely able to achieve a new level of power, probably even able to reach the power to rival some of the gods of destruction, if not even more. Though he's not quite sure himself, he still believes that this might help him at least achieve a new level of power to match Goku and Vegeta or not even surpass them. Of course, both Goten and Trunks had actually not been faring so little as some of the Z-Fighters might think, as both of them have grown stronger and have reached the level of Super Saiyan 3 after a couple of years. They have been training and sparring with each other to increase their powers further and further, believing that with their training they were able to reach an overwhelming levels of power very soon. But they also want to surprise their fathers with their new Super Saiyan 3 transformations. Of course, little that all the Z-Fighters and everyone knew, Goku and Vegeta was still stuck inside the Divine Time Chamber, battling for so long. And because they're constantly sparring in battles, them going inside the Divine Chamber so deep that Whis can't even see them anymore. Of course, Whis would have noticed that and wondered if Goku and Vegeta have died. Of course, he says it thinks it may not be possible, but at least he can deliver this news to his father, at least this. Much after learning the news, the Grand Prix is more than happy, since these mortals are out of the way. They will most likely not cause any trouble to them anymore, as he is happy. Well, little did the Grand Priest and all the gods and angels knew, Goku and Vegeta were still inside Time Chamber, growing stronger and stronger as days passed. But eventually, after a couple thousand years, Goku and Vegeta were able to feel weakened. They realized that the chamber is reaching its limits. The chamber can only keep a person alive for at least 2,000 years, and they're kind of reaching its limit. Of course, Vegeta asks him if Goku is also feeling weak and hungry, with Goku nodding and telling him that maybe in those couple of years that the chamber is still keeping them alive, most likely they were able to find out an answer or even reach the power to at least crack the time chamber. Vegeta also agrees with Goku and hopes that it may be the case. Well, back on Earth, the Z-Fire decided to basically do something. Since Beerus not responding to them nor Whis, decided to utilize the Dragon Balls and eventually summon Shenron. But because of the upgrades that then they did, the Earth's Dragon has become more powerful, with this summons being able to cause a weather change in an instant. Everyone was surprised by Shenron's new overwhelming power, but eventually they decided to ask him the question, what happened to Goku and Vegeta? Eventually, Shenron will explain everything that happened in God's Mini, and of course the reluctance of Whis and how he did it. And everyone was shocked, but decided to also do something, since they wanted to help Goku and Vegeta. So they decided for Goku and Vegeta to have immortality. Of course, Shenron gives him that wish, but also to be aware of what is happening to Goku and Vegeta at all time. Shenron saying that anytime they summon him, he'll basically tell him what happened to Goku and Vegeta. And Z-Fighters did not and thank Shenron. Eventually, Shenron returns back to the Dragon Balls as they separated for the next couple of years. It was actually a couple of months, so then they upgrade them. Well, back inside the time chamber, Goku and Vegeta actually start to feel different. They were starting to feel that their weakened and hungry state was actually starting to diminish, and eventually they were able to recollect their energy. Eventually, they would have to utilize fusion to maybe possibly break the time chamber, but the fusion was not stable enough. As when they fuse to Vegeta, they can only go up to a level of Super Saiyan Blue evolution, not even at the level of their Ultra forms. Since if they were to utilize more of their power, the fusion would easily separate. Even if they were to basically consider Ki to their maximum, they cannot do anything, as the fusion is not permanent. Most likely it will work with Vegeta, but with Gogeta is a lot more difficult. Though they also know is that they're not hungry or tired anymore. It's like their bodies have been rejuvenated back to their prime, in their full power. Of course, they're wondering what is happening, but they basically had to they remember their friends and families, and realize that mostly they've used Dragon Balls to make them immortals. This will be a very good thing, since it mostly means that they will not only not die of old age, but also will not need any food or anything like that to keep themselves alive. Meaning that they can train as much as they want, how much power and ki they have in their bodies. And with the immortality, they can continue to do that for centuries if they want to, but they know that must continue to grow stronger. Of course, they also would have able to reach a new level of power, with both of them able to perfect their lower forms, perfecting Super Saiyan 2 and 3, and eventually perfecting Super Saiyan God and Blue. And eventually even reach a new levels of power out in their Ultra forms, with both of them able to basically master them. Both of them mastering their Ultra forms at their bare minimum, able to utilize 90% of the full power of the Ultra form without actually resorting to that much of ki. But this is the end for this part, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this series for now, and I'll see you guys next time.